Hi, I'm Tara Palmeri, your feared and fearless political journalist. I want to tell you a story about the love affair between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It didn't start hot and heavy. No, in fact, Elon Musk was more interested in another candidate during the Republican primary, and that was Ron DeSantis. Let's not forget that it was Ron DeSantis who launched his campaign on X, and it was a total mess. But even if you want to go even further back, Elon Musk considered himself a humanitarian and thought that his electric vehicles could, save the world. And this was when Donald Trump was still beating Ron DeSantis and the rest of the Republican primary holders. Elon wasn't really sold. In fact, he really didn't get behind him until the summer of 2024, just months before the election. It was on the day of the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, that Elon Musk tweeted hours after it happened that he was endorsing Donald Trump. Certainly not a time when you would be getting big headlines. How do we go from Trump curious to making one of the biggest political contributions, $250 million to a campaign in history? Now, Elon Musk is literally side by side with Trump at all times, with such a prominent role that I could only compare it to possibly a presidential spouse. I mean, Elon Musk did say himself, "I love this man as much as one man can love another man." Take a listen to this conversation with Teddy Schleifer of the New York Times. He is one of the preeminent chroniclers of Elon Musk and the entire Silicon Valley movement and how they have made this shift to the right, how they've sort of abandoned the Democratic Party and see a home now with the Republican Party and even Trump. This is a fascinating conversation. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you to Teddy, my former colleague at Puck. I brought Teddy into the room for you all to meet because he's, in my opinion, one of the best reporters on the beat on this administration. And he saw something that many missed for a while, and that was that Silicon Valley was increasingly becoming more and more, you could say, red-pilled. They were disillusioned with the Biden administration. This kind of started a little bit over COVID, but certainly became more pronounced once the administration came in. They were frustrated with regulations. We can talk more about that. They felt that it didn't match their culture, Silicon Valley culture. And he really paid attention to this because Silicon Valley is such a power center politically. It historically has favored Democrats up until this moment, and they had unlimited wealth, if you think about it. And particularly Elon Musk, someone who at one time called himself a humanitarian. Thank you, Teddy. This is a very important story, and I think we should maybe start with the origin of it all. Teddy had been following this at Puck. I found all of his stories to be incredibly engaging. Everything felt a little shadowy. All of these, tech millionaires meeting in mansions in Silicon Valley and Los Angeles. Peter Thiel being one of the major backers of the Republican Party at the time, sort of being the first to show them that it was safe to head into those waters. But, Teddy, when did you really first sense a real shift happening?
Yeah, I would say thank you, everyone, for having me. Promise I own more than one shirt, which I'm wearing the same shirt from that photo years ago, I promise. I think it started during COVID. I think if you were in Silicon Valley, even in 2020, it was still really hard to be a Trump supporter. There was a fundraiser that Trump did in the Bay Area for his re-election campaign in 2019 that was not public even to guests who the host of the event was, because they were so concerned about being ostracized and being outed that these guests were showing up for a fundraiser in 2000. Now it's just dead. There was an event in 2019 that when someone was hosting for Trump, they were so concerned about it leaking that they would not even tell anybody where the event was. These people were showing up at a fundraiser at a TBD location. So by 2020, when COVID starts rearing and there's kind of this distrust of institutions, distrust of the media, which I think really lots of tech people were feeding off of that anti-media kind of sentiment, that's when this starts. And Joe Biden's elected, and then I think what I noticed was lots of tech leaders could feel that they are, anti-left, anti-democratic, without necessarily being explicitly like pro-Trump, because you don't have to defend Trump anymore. He's no longer president. You can just be Joe Biden sucks and think that, and not have to say anything about Trump. And you could be pretending that you're pro Ron DeSantis or pro some TBD Republican in the 2024 presidential election. So once Trump's out of office, it's very easy for tech leaders to stop being scared to be conservative.
And it seems like at first they were sort of entranced by Ron DeSantis. Is it fair to say that? I mean, the entire establishment thought Ron DeSantis could be the white knight. They really didn't want to go back to the chaos of Trump.
Yeah, I mean, basically what happened was Ron DeSantis was able to ride on this premise that he's going to have all this Silicon Valley support, and it didn't necessarily matter if it was true in 2021, 2022. Like, he wasn't officially running for president. He was pretending that he was just running for re-election. But even during the 2022 cycle, DeSantis was able to take advantage of the fact that there were lots of tech leaders who were just desperate for anybody but Trump. This was a time when there was tons of tech leaders were saying openly, like Elon Musk even was saying openly, that Trump should ride off into the sunset. We should move on. This is kind of the high watermark of DeSantis. I guess it ended up being the case. That was the high watermark for DeSantis in the 2024 presidential race, was before he even announced he was running. So yes, tech leaders were excited about him. And this is also, we should say, at a time when Biden, sort of his popularity is beginning to sag. You don't really find many vocal, or it's harder to find kind of vocal Biden supporters kind of around the time in Silicon Valley. I don't know if he really even had much of a kind of a honeymoon period in tech. Maybe right after Jan 6, or right after Biden was elected, you saw Democratic liberals be excited about the return to norms, blah blah blah. But really around that time, up until Trump won the nomination, you did not see kind of a vocal pro-Trump explicit movement from tech leaders. Up until the end, they wanted somebody else, and those on the right originally were trying to make it be Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or whomever, and they eventually acceded to the fact that Trump was going to be the nominee. But it's not as if Trump had like vocal support from Silicon Valley during the Republican primary. It was an acquiescence by kind of the tech right around Trump, which only happened in the spring of 2024 once Trump wins the nomination.
Yeah, that was a really interesting period, because you're right. I mean, Ron DeSantis raised the most money for a super PAC that's ever been raised. It was close to $200 million, I believe. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of it came from tech. Musk was sort of infatuated with Ron DeSantis, right?
Yeah. I mean, Musk, as this now feels forever ago, but like Musk launched the DeSantis campaign
on X, and it was horrible.
Which that he wasn't doing that for everybody. I mean, Musk also did an event for RFK when RFK was running at first as a Democratic primary challenger to Joe Biden. He did an event with Vivek Ramaswamy. But Musk, it's not as if Musk didn't think to himself, like, should I do an event with a Republican frontrunner? Like he explicitly did not do one. From our reporting, even in 2023, he was actively trying to find ways to support other Republicans who are not Donald Trump. Even friends of Musk's in like February or March of 2024 were saying that he really didn't want to support Trump. And if he did support Trump, there was a lot of conversation around that time in the Musk social circle about like doing an anti-Biden endorsement in like that Elon Musk would come out and say publicly, like, bear with me here, that like he is explicitly against Joe Biden in a presidential election, in a general election, but would not say that he was pro-Trump, which would like be the most meaningless anti-endorsement ever, because like there were two people running for president at the time. But that Musk was very skittish even until the spring about being explicitly pro-Trump.
Yeah, and then he ultimately hired a bunch of former DeSantis staffers essentially to run the America's Super PAC, which helped get Donald Trump over the line. That was the $250 million that he spent in the battleground states. That ultimately was the largest political donation, I think, in history, right? By one individual.
Was it the largest donation by one individual in history? I don't think I've ever said that, but like I'm trying to think right now.
That's what I've been told. I mean, I can't think of anything bigger. I mean, the Adelsons gave him $100 million to Trump.
He was the largest disclosed donor in the 2024 cycle. That's
Okay.
true.
In the most expensive cycle in history.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't think of anything that would be greater off the top of my head. You have to always have to
We'll
add,
get back to you.
You always have to add, you always have to add disclosed on these things because
Right.
like it's possible that someone's donating $300 million to like a nonprofit group that doesn't disclose its donors. Yeah, I mean, Musk was not excited really about supporting Trump at the beginning of the campaign, beginning of 2024 even. He was very, he believed that the country was being overtaken by undocumented immigrants. He believed that crime was a massive problem. He believed that Joe Biden was, senile, blah blah blah. But he was thinking all of those things at the same time as not being gung ho about Trump. And then in like the spring of 2024, late spring, like May, he begins mobilizing for this pro-Trump super PAC. Though I even know people who donated to that super PAC, which is the group that Tara's referencing that gave all this money, who sort of like thought their donation was like was just like pro like rule of law, pro immigration enforcement, who didn't really think of it as like a pro-Trump group. Now, like we don't have to go super into the weeds on kind of how exactly the super PAC started, but essentially, like all of Elon Musk's, he really wanted to make sure that no one knew he was funding this group for as long as possible. So he got a lot of his friends to basically donate money before the group officially disclosed the Musk checks. So these people could donate for whatever reason they wanted to, and some people just donated because like they were basically doing Elon Musk a solid. But the whole point here is like Musk was not, excited about Trump in all of 2023, and really until he endorsed him in Butler, which was in July of 2024. He was trying to hide it. He was trying to hide the fact that he was such a pro-Trump figure, or he became a pro-Trump figure, which is obviously like so funny to watch what's happening now, where he's like in every camera shot and is obsessed with, getting credit from Trump and all this stuff. Because if he really was so concerned about like being valued by Trump world, he should have come out for Trump much earlier than he did.
Because they care about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Trump cares about money.
Honestly, I feel like he could have come out for Trump. I mean, remember, the Republican primary was over on like March 1st.
It was the safest endorsement he ever made.
What was he doing from March 1st to July 15th, or whenever the Butler shooting was, when he was, there began to be reports that Musk was supporting Trump, but he really took his time. And we reported that Musk was telling friends that even if he did support Trump during this period, he really wanted to make sure it was like quiet. So he was like, he's getting credit right now as the guy that helped deliver Trump's election, blah blah blah. But like, there was an extensive period of time in 2024 when Elon Musk was publicly very, very nervous about being associated with him.
And so, what was the shift for him? What got him up on that stage in Butler?
Yeah, I mean, for people who recall that day, it was obviously frantic. The day of the first Butler rally, the day of the Trump shooting. Elon Musk tweets this endorsement. It was less than an hour after the shooting, and I remember, I was like on my phone. I had, obviously was watching the news because it was public that there's been this assassination attempt, and like you see that, and I have Musk Twitter notifications on, sadly, and like you see this tweet, and you're just like, is this like why is he choosing this moment of like when the sun is being blotted out by so many other things in the news, like, hey, maybe the president of the United States might be the former president of the United States might be about to die. Like, let's take this moment to like go forward with this plan of endorsing Trump, which he was at that point going to endorse Trump. He was spending money on this pro-Trump super PAC. It would have come out publicly that he was a backer of the group.
But he wasn't planning to be on the stage with Trump making an endorsement.
You're talking about the second Butler rally.
He eventually, after the assassination attempt.
You're asking about why did he go on stage to the second Butler
Yeah,
rally.
exactly.
I was giving the story of why he endorsed after the first Butler rally.
Sure, we could start there to get to the second one. But he never really intended to be on a stage endorsing Trump. He thought a tweet would be fine.
So the first, I think these events a lot happened during this time period in between those two rallies. I mean, the first rally, you know, Trump is in July. You know, Elon and Trump like don't really have much of a relationship at all at that point. Like, I don't believe they had seen each other. They'd seen each other once in person in March of 2024, when Musk is beginning to become friendly with Trump through this guy Nelson Peltz, who's one of Trump's kind of friends of
contemporary billionaire, Mar-a-Lago hanger-outer.
And Elon Musk is good friends with Nelson Peltz's kid. But like the point there is, at the time that Musk endorses Trump, they do not. This is not like, you know, his homie who he's been friends with for decades. Like, this is somebody who they really barely know each other. But then over those next couple of months, between July, I guess it's only 3 months, July, August, September, October, I think is when the second Butler rally is. You know, they really become, you know, Musk is spending all this money to help Trump, and they're not inseparable because they still don't really know each other, and you can argue they don't even really know each other even really now, frankly. I mean, like it's purely been this, you know, this marriage of convenience. But during those periods, the Musk operation is spending all this money to help Trump. You know, Trump was being outraised and outspent by the Biden and the Harris operation for almost the entire campaign. Didn't really matter, obviously. So Musk gets up on stage. You know, this is in I think this is October. It might have been late September. You know, and Musk really begins just this public embrace of Trump in a way that was also startling. His super PAC ends up really embracing Elon as like the founder of the group. Like, for a while, even when Musk was giving all the money to the pro-Trump super PAC, he wasn't really saying it was his group. Like, explicitly, I remember this interview that Musk did with Jordan Peterson, where like he was asked, like, is this a pro-Trump group? And he's like, no, we're just pro, you know, First Amendment, and he's like sort of not really saying the words, like, I am supporting Donald Trump for President of the United States, this is my super PAC, blah, blah, blah. So he gets up on stage at this Butler rally, and it's basically this coming out party for Musk and Trump, and you know, he's jumping on the stage, as people may recall, in sort of somewhat embarrassing
black
photos.
MAGA hat.
Yeah, the black MAGA hat, and you know, he gives this speech, and it's, you know, the rest is kind of history.
Right, and then he also sort of helped, which is something that Trump's team and Barron Trump, with the whole bro MAGA sphere, he helped to sort of nurture that as well, wouldn't you say?
I mean, to some extent, it's sort of that is Elon Musk's profile even before Trump, right? I mean, like, he is a huge. I haven't seen super recent polling, but I remember polling on this stuff in like 2017, 2018, 2019. There's a huge gender split on Musk's like support. You know, he's beloved by men at the time. And, you know,
well, he has 15 baby mamas.
What's that?
Yeah, he has 15 baby mamas.
Very disliked by female voters, at least. And
women tend to not really like that.
Yeah. There you go. So at the time, you know, Musk was certainly, you know, was as a cultish kind of figure for lots of male voters, and you know, Trump obviously did a lot to help. Did a lot to kind of nurture that manosphere you're talking about. But to some extent, like that, I feel like that already was associated with Elon, even if Elon didn't do anything.
He actually probably gave Trump a little bit more cred in that world.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are. Trump wins election, inauguration, Musk is there. He follows them into the White House in a way that I think most administration officials did not think was actually going to happen. I do not think that they saw Musk as like this.
What did you think was going to happen?
I didn't think he was going to be, you know, Doge would be his project, right? Was what he said. I didn't actually believe that he would take it that seriously, because he has a track record of sort of like losing interest in things. But to be literally at Trump's side at every moment, and to be in every single shot, to take this Doge initiative so like seriously, to the point that he's pissing off all of the cabinet officials, to be there as the president's essentially right-hand man above the chief of staff, you could say. I don't think most people on the campaign expected this.
Yeah, I mean, I remember on like my main contribution on election day was a story that we wrote in the Times that Musk was attending the election night festivities at Mar-a-Lago, which like didn't really feel like a significant scoop at the time. It was just like Musk is going to the election party. But like that actually was the beginning of that period where basically Musk has not left since, right? That was like the start of like a new phase in the relationship, which was Musk, because then Musk went to Mar-a-Lago for the transition. He went for the party, and then, I mean, we didn't know all this at the time, but then he stayed
and
for
never left.
weeks. Right, exactly. But like at the time, it's just like, oh, like whatever, Elon's going to the party.
He has a cabana at Mar-a-Lago,
Right,
and he
right.
bought an apartment in West Palm Beach. And he's literally everywhere next to Trump. I mean, my sources say he's extremely clingy, and Trump doesn't really love that.
So yes, that basically ends. This basically starts this new phase where Musk and Trump don't really know each other, but Musk is then suddenly there.
Even on New Year's,
even on New
he's
Year's
sitting next to Trump. He walks into the rooms with Trump,
Yeah.
gets applause with Trump. He's there next to Trump in almost every shot.
Yeah, I do not believe he left at all between. I might be misremembering some of the details here, but I don't believe between November and December, like during the presidential transition period, November 5th to January 20th, I do not think he left, or maybe he left very, very briefly, which like raises a lot of interesting questions about like who's running the Musk companies. This has been like a question I've had. I'm not an expert on Tesla or SpaceX or XAI or things like that, but like Elon is still certainly on paper like the CEO of all these companies. Like he's still leading Tesla like earnings calls, and I've always wondered like where are these calls happening from? Like is he doing these from like the White House?
Eisenhower office building?
Because there's this whole world of you can track Elon's plane, which is like a cottage industry of reporters who sort of do this sort of thing, and like the plane has been in, like he's not really leaving DC. He's gone a couple of times to California or to Texas in the last 3 or 4 months, but he's basically since November 5th been right next to Trump the whole time. Doge ends up. I don't think like people thought it was a joke, but like it's certain, and I also don't think it's accurate when some people say that like Trump did not run on it. Like he gave a speech talking about he was going to set up a Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk was going to be running it. He said that in a speech in September.
Vivek Ramaswamy was also supposed to be a part of it.
Yeah, and Howard Lutnick was as well. But like it is certainly true that Trump did not emphasize Doge during the campaign. Like it was not an issue he talked about a lot. It was not clear that Musk was going to be doing this in a not even quasi, in a full-time capacity, basically. I think people thought it would be a much more of an advisory role, like similar to what like Carl Icahn did in the first administration, where he was like, he still had his day job, but like Elon gave some ideas about Doge and tweeted about Doge and whatever. But like the idea that Musk was going to be like
full throttle.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was surprising. Even on election night when we published that Musk was going to the party, we didn't expect what happened. I didn't expect any of this.
Okay. Now, like, there was obviously a lot of ambiguity to his role in the White House. Now he is a senior administration official. Is that right?
Yeah, that's fair to say. He's in some ways the most senior administration official, except for Trump. And some people will dispute that, or some people will dispute, that he's not even more senior than J.D. Vance. But yes, he's a senior administration official. He's technically what's called a special government employee. But
which means that he can continue working at his existing
it's
positions.
sort of I'll spare people the details here, but it's sort of a workaround for some of the ethics questions. But yes, he works for the White House. His spokespeople are White House employees. He has a White House email address. He's a White House employee.
And he sleeps in the Eisenhower office building.
We've been careful at the times about saying where Musk actually sleeps, because like there's an element of this that is definitely like work porn or like kind of fable, where it's like Musk loves, and Musk like acolytes love to tell people, like they're sleeping at the office, and this is a part of like the lore of Elon Musk. Is like, do I believe he's slept at the office sometimes? Sure. Do I think Elon Musk is sleeping on the bed in the office every single night? No. But it is true that there are beds that have been installed in the GSA, the General Services Administration building, which I believe certainly is true that a lot of people working for Doge, like the younger people, have slept there a lot. I just don't know whether that's true of Elon specifically. The world's richest person is definitely like showering and, not sleeping.
I don't know. I feel like the richer you get, the weirder you get.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm just urging people to be like, when you see like the meme of like Elon sleeping in like a sleeping bag on the floor, like I just like make sure.
He probably has a couch he can sleep on as well. Yeah, okay. We can move on from where he sleeps. So do you see this as like a trend that will outlive Trump? Will Musk move on to the next leader in the Republican Party? I mean, will he try to become the next leader in the Republican Party? Is that what he's doing himself?
I don't know. Certainly, like a thought that people have had is like, will I'm very interested in like the Musk JD Vance relationship is interesting to me. Vance obviously is like a front runner for the Republican nomination in 2028. Will Elon Musk care about that? It's so far away. Who knows whether or not Musk will be satisfied with his like experience in politics? You could see. I could easily paint two pictures for you of how that goes. Like one where Musk is having a great time as the fan favorite of the Republican base, and he like says, "This is great. Let's keep doing it. Let's give $350 million to the JD Vance super PAC."
I mean, he just gave another $100 million. You were reporting in the Times to Trump for his
political
political
activity.
activity.
He's getting right. But you can also see a scenario easily where Musk feels like, he didn't get enough credit. All the mean people in the media and the bureaucracy were stymieing him, and he could say he did enough to support, the Doge effort, and he just kind of goes home and, still is a Republican, but does not care that much about Vance or kind of any future Republicans. I could see both those.
He did get Trump to pick Vance, though.
Musk, I think a lot of people got Trump to pick Vance, and there's also a lot of revisionist history about kind of how exactly all that happened. But Musk placed calls to encourage Vance, to be a pick. He called Vance, we've reported, assassination insurance. This is right after the Butler shooting. Basically that. It's funny because Vance and Musk also do not have a deep relationship. It's not as if they really knew each other that well at all.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing obviously the other tech scions and tycoons following Musk, and it was after him, though, obviously. It was at the inauguration.
Yeah.
And a little bit before Mark Zuckerberg going to Mar-a-Lago after Trump won the election. Jeff Bezos, Tim Cook, everybody seems to be, sort of following in Musk's lead, but they're not getting as close to the administration as he is. Maybe they want to be and they can't. I mean, what do you make of all that? Are they just being, opportunists that trying to, get on the good side of a president who's out for revenge, particularly against some of them like Zuckerberg, who he at one time said should be in prison?
Yeah.
Or do they really believe in this? Are they believers in the Trump administration?
I think there's a lot. There's a lot going on with like the red pilling and the kind of the conservative embrace of Trump. There's like a lot. That's a catch-all way of saying like there's a lot of different types of people with a lot of different types of motivations. I do think for public company CEOs, like take Zuckerberg for instance, it's just like pure like defense of your industry, and he felt that Biden was too strict on governing like AI, and Trump will be more permissive, which is true, and like it's just pure like lobbying, right?
If you have the access, so Trump will let you in.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of Democrats, a lot of these tech leaders kind of saw a Democrat that was not Barack Obama, and Obama, who is much more tech friendly than Joe Biden ended up being, and they're like, oh crap, like this is the alternative to Trump, is like we could just have Biden. That sounds awful, right? So like for them, it's like, okay, now they're comparing. This is what Trump said, like compare me to the other option here, and tech leaders said, some public company CEOs said, I'll take Trump. There's also obviously a lot of PTSD from 2016 into 2020, where Trump made a lot of these tech CEOs' jobs awful, right? They were fighting with him all the time. So I think that's true. I also think that for some tech leaders, there is a genuine, like, right-wing drift that, like, is reflected in how some voters feel, right? I do think, in addition to Mark Zuckerberg being, like, a lobbyist for Facebook or for Meta, he also genuinely is more conservative than he was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We've reported that he thinks that a lot of the stuff he funded on DEI and through his philanthropy were mistakes. He feels that like the left that he kind of grew up with under the Obama era was wrong, and these are like genuine beliefs that he has that are also politically convenient because now Trump is the president. So I think all these things are true. I think also that some people are absolutely just like using Trump to get whatever they want, and like their politics are sort of irrelevant. They just want to like be in the room, and I think that's true for a lot of the Musk friends. Like, do they really care about Trump, or is it just like drunk on power? Like, there's definitely an element of that too.
Right. Yeah, I just reported in my new newsletter, the Red Letter, that Priscilla Chang, who is Mark Zuckerberg's wife, was at a conservative conference, the American Enterprise Institute, which is a secret off-the-record conference. So she's clearly gone a little further to the right as well.
Yeah. I mean, Priscilla, we reported this also is becoming more is concerned about these sort of issues, and she joins Mark in that, and she's by his side as he's going to MMA rallies and kind of doing all this stuff too. So yes, the fact that she was at the AEI summit, I thought was fitting this trend.
That was another episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please smash that subscribe button and share with your friends. And also check out my new newsletter, The Red Letter. I hope you will subscribe to support my independent journalism. See you again next week.